Welcome. In tonight's video, we've got an interesting little topic. No, not a specific knife here, but we'll be talking about Barlows. And I have been getting into Barlows lately, and I've got one. We're going to start one off with an honorable mention, because it's not really a Barlow, but it vibes like a modern Barlow to me, and that is the Asher Knives Picket. This is a ball bearing S30V steel knife made by Asher Knives. This is a fantastic knife. I won this from a giveaway over at Blades and EDC. I'll put a link to the channel down below, maybe not, we'll see. And this knife just vibes so well. It's kind of got like a lion steel look to it with the drop point to it. You know, usually when you see a Barlow, you think of a clip point, but the almost symmetricalness of the handle, except for like this little bit here in the flipper tab, feels to me very much like a Barlow, but that's why I call it an honorable mention. It's not really a Barlow. It comes with a deep carry pocket clip, but I swapped it out for a little junky piece of copper that I tried to shape into the little recess there. But the ball bearings is nice and fidgety. It's nice to just have and holds an edge forever. Fantastic knife, solid, delightful knife. I carry this like in my pocket every day for 6 months. This thing is fantastic. But this is the honorable mention, the Asher Knives Picket. I kind of consider it a modern Barlow, but it's not really a Barlow by a technical standard, but I just threw that in there. Up next, we have the Rough Rider Granddaddy Barlow with the buckshot bone handle, and this knife is fantastic. I've been carrying this a lot lately. This thing is big, awesome, and delightful. Made by Rough Rider. You can buy it at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. This thing is like 20 bucks, something like that, and it's just a really good knife. It's, you know, just it's comfortable in the hand. The buckshot bone gives you a good amount of grip without being too grippy. It's just been a really solid knife. I know Rough Riders are kind of hit or miss sometimes. Sometimes they're super awesome, sometimes they're garbage. But this one is one of those that to me is really awesome. Has a half stop for safety here, and just good solid lockup, detent, whatever you want to call it. You know, this is a slip joint here. This thing has held up delightfully well through some of the abuse that I have been putting it through, and I recommend this knife wholeheartedly. This sucker is fantastic, and this is kind of the knife that got me into Barlows. Before, I had this knife before then, but I hadn't really quite considered Barlows as an option. I'd been a modern knife person. I still am. I still love like my Sincut Serene here with the button lock, you know, ball bearing action. This thing has been delightful to carry. But I've been getting back into, you know, traditional knives lately, and this knife kind of just started setting it off for me. Like I'm starting to appreciate some of the older knives. I still love modern knives, but it just started really going well for me. And another Rough Rider that I had before, this isn't a Barlow, but I'm throwing this in here because the copper here is the Rough Rider Apta. This sucker has been really nice in the pocket. Heavy, but it is a beast. Good solid knife, no play. When it's opened, it's good. But I heard about the Kershaw Culpeper Barlow, and this is where like the Barlowness is really coming in. I've got a wish list of Barlows that I'm going to try to be getting throughout the year as the year goes along, because I want to build out my Barlow collection, and more specifically like single bladed Barlows. I like the two-bladed Barlows that are smaller and stuff, but I want like this size or larger for a single blade Barlow collection. But I had heard about this. I watched some reviews of it on YouTube, and I got one, and I love it. This is the slip joint version, not the double detent version. I plan on getting the double detent later in the year. This is made by Kershaw. This is called the Culpeper, Culpepper. And when I got it, brand spanking new out of the box, it looked like this. It was nice and shiny and just, you know, super, super flashy. Now, as you can see, it is toned down a lot. Like that bolster section there was as shiny as that penny. But now it's starting to patina, which I knew it was going to do that. I wanted it to do it, and it's doing it delightfully well. And it's not too heavy of a knife for being copper. The scales are just thin enough that it works as it is really well. People complain about the pull here being light, but I don't really see a problem with that. With that little bit of a choil there, you've got a little bit of safety on your finger if you choke up and hold tight, or if you do hold lower, it's not going to slam shut on your fingers. Even though it doesn't really have a half stop, it has kind of this little dull section here where it's not going to just swing shut. I don't think there's any problem with that. And to me, you know, a good lockup is for people that don't know how to use the knife. So you're trying to make the knife as safe as you can for that person. If you are familiar with knives and can handle a knife, I don't see much need in having to have a solid lockup. You can have a lighter pull on a knife and it still work. And this knife is really solid when closed. Like, it's not going to open accidentally on you. This sucker is going to go in, it's going to stay shut until you pull it out. And to me, that's fine. I love it. But this is like the perfect size of a Barlow. It's a full 4-finger grip, maybe even a 5-finger grip. I've got extra large hands, but the fingers are skinny. I've got long, lanky fingers here. I do not have ham hands by any stretch of the imagination. And this is like where the culmination of Barlows is happening for me right now. And I know there's plenty more Barlows out there to get. Like I said, Lion Steel Barlows are on my bucket list. I want the green micarta with the shuffler blade, which is the clip point blade, or maybe the round head, which is the drop point. I used to like sheep's foot blades. I'm kind of getting out of those a little bit, so I might not get a sheep's foot. But that is like my next jump in Barlows for me. And I am just really appreciating the shape of the handles. I'm big on symmetrical handles. I do have the weird knives like the SRM 9201. Really great knife. I love it. But the handles don't vibe smooth, symmetrical nature. This is a little funky for me in how that's shaped and how the back is more narrow than the front. It's a little weird for what I'm used to. I do much prefer the shape of like a Swiss Army knife, or maybe like a Benchmade bug out, where it's like pretty straight all the way down. I mean, I do appreciate like the Ganzo knife, which is like a Spyderco PM2 shape. That's nice and all, but the symmetrical nature of a pocket knife, I feel like, is lost. And I don't like these old slip joints where the handles are really curved or swayed. I like a solid look to the knife. And to me, the symmetrical nature makes the knife appear more solid. That's just me, though. But, you know, you do you. I'm not telling you what pocket knives to buy here, but I'm just saying, like, I have gotten into Barlows as of late, and even the honorable mention of a Barlow. I feel like it vibes like a Barlow, you know? I mean, you almost, in the slightest of sense of, like, how the handles are shaped, you almost want to consider a Victorinox, but that is a bit of a stretch even for me. But you can almost consider that a Barlow if you got like a single-bladed Victorinox. But then, you know, this is just kind of a rambly filler video at the moment. I'm going to be delving into Barlows as the year goes along, and this is like my current collection of Barlow-esque knives. If they are not considered true Barlows, these are Barlow-esque in nature, and we'll see how this goes as time goes on. So thank you for listening to me ramble. Hope you got something entertaining out of this. I do wholeheartedly love all of these knives. And for those of you that are wondering, the copper bead on this knife is from a copper tube that I took my Knipex pliers wrenches, just started pinching down into shape and rounding it around and stuff just with the one pair of pliers. Ran some leather through, and we'll see how that patinas over time. I put that on today after having carried this for a few weeks now. So we'll let this catch up to that and see what happens. So thank you for listening to me ramble and rant. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helps you build your EDC to your standards. And until the next time, farewell, carry well, and bye-bye.